Well, Chiefs Kingdom, it was cold. It was slow. It was a win. The Chiefs were convincing in this ballgame against the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to break down why, when, and what comes next. All through my notes today. Dan Harms will join us here in a minute. Right now, we are live post-game from the Chiefs win over the Seattle Seahawks, taking them a step further. We are also, out of the corner of our eye, watching the Cincinnati Bengals battle with the New England Patriots, a team that has been pushing to try and get into the postseason. A lot coming on that. We're going to have some messages popping in here left and right. Make sure you join us. Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. You got another win. It's another step forward. And I think this team turned some things around. We're going to go through piece by piece. The rookies, particularly in the secondary, I really liked the comeuppance that they showed, the bounce back that they showed. And there's a lot that they're going to need from that going forward. Dan has joined us. Let's get Dan into the musical feel right now. Are you ready to sing, or like, how you feeling, buddy?
Yeah, I know that everyone's been looking for a slow game, like a boring game. That's what it was.
Yep.
The Chiefs defense smothered the Seahawks. Like, they were unable to do anything most of the game. That's crack a victory beer really quickly.
I'm jealous. I didn't know we were doing this.
I try. I try to get a victory beer whenever they have a nice one. Like, or if I feel like drinking after a win, like I did last week. Sometimes you just want to relax and have a beer, even if it's a bad game. But there was a lot of really nice things, like you pointed out about the young players, the rookies. This might have been their best game collectively all season, outside of perhaps a couple of Josh Williams plays that I'm sure we'll talk about. But in my opinion, this was George Karlaftis' best game as a pro. Period.
And we've said that, 3 weeks running now? Like, he's stepping it up little by little by little, and we're seeing more out of him. The batted passes are one thing. I was really happy with that, but he's getting around the edge. I thought his handwork was better early on that first sack that he got. He had another couple of nice pass rushes, but it's a little bit of everything kind of culminating as we move forward. I'm going to break down all the pass rushers on NFL 33 this week, because I want you guys to get an idea of where the rookies are versus what we projected. And most specifically, the project I'm working on right now is comparing the rookie pass rushers, including George Karlaftis, to what they did in college. Percentage-wise, how are they adapting? It's going to go a long way, and we're going to get into all the draft coverage. If you guys haven't noticed, we got some new threads over here for you. You can wear them on your heads. We both have one of the new ones.
Dude, those hats look really, really slick.
I'm kind of digging them.
Look slick. Like, I'm loving that.
I'm glad you like it. We got a bunch, folks, and you can find them here on the store. Obviously, the Chiefs Kingdom Rogue Nation hat is available. Dan's got it on. We on the West is selling like hotcakes. I'm glad you guys are digging that. You can get this RGR in red, which I'm kind of digging. It is one of those heavier wool ones, so check that out as well. And we do have the Trooper available. I still like the Trooper. I might do that in red, though. Some folks have asked for that, and we do have the RGR Football Rogue Nation over on the beanie side as well. So check out the store. It's in the description and that kind of stuff. I'm kind of digging it. I like this one. I don't like the tall hats that much, but this one fits me really well. So, like, I'm more of a dad hat slouch back kind of like, are they going to do it kind of thing? But, I've done worse. So as we sit here, Chiefs take a step forward. I know we're all kind of hoping at halftime that the Bills were going to fold a little bit. They did not. Bills woke up, but in not just GK, but I'm looking at my notes here in the fourth quarter in particular, but most of the second half, and it's McDuffie for TFL. McDuffie stop on an out route. Like, McDuffie, I felt, took what he did well, not only the last couple of weeks, but in the first half, and stepped it up again. And he and George earned their first round selections this week. Do you feel the same, or are you still waiting for more?
I mean, I'm going to be a little bit more hesitant with Karlaftis, but I do think the last, probably, like you said, 3 weeks, he's starting to earn it. He had a bit of an adjustment process, but we're seeing batted passes. He's starting to win a little bit more. We're seeing the power. The first step is really taking a step, in my opinion. Like, I know that's playing on words, but it's still early in the season. That first step quickness, it wasn't there. It wasn't there yet. Not against NFL tackles. And he was able to beat Lucas multiple times in this game just on that first step. And that's what you want to see from him. There was a play, I know that Gino ended up throwing it into the end zone where nobody was there, where McDuffie is on the outside on a deep curl. And you can't tell the difference between where he is and where the receiver is. He stopped and he sunk his hips in such unison with a guy who's trying to sell a go and then curl that you couldn't tell the difference. That was one thing I really took away from. He's starting to get even better than he was coming out of Washington. So I'm very, very happy about what we're seeing out of those guys right now.
And that's film work. That's recognition in the way a guy goes about rounding off his route or cutting it or trying to stab it. There's a lot there. It is still a 4-point game and it's a 2-minute warning. Unfortunately, my TV's over my shoulder this time, so I got to look away from you guys every now and then. Thundarius had a really great observation. Not identical Thundarius, but yeah, the guys out at Spark Motors on Diesel Brothers show that I follow. We use the same graphic designer, and the base template is the same for our logos, except mine's a little narrower on the beard. Theirs is a little bit more bushy, and the rest of the face is different. There's an arrowhead on the nose. There's a couple of little things that are different. But yeah, when you start with the same graphic designer, you end up with things that look interestingly similar. And I think it's great. I like that show, and I like those guys. So I'm sorry that they're on their last season. But Daniel, you're right. That was a great win. And folks, we are post-game. We're kind of waiting to see what happens here on this ball game. But we're going to answer some of your questions coming up. We're going to go back to the top to start off with. And I felt like it was a little slow. Unfortunately, there was a number of 3-and-outs today.
Yeah.
Not things that I like. If they stall, they stall. That does happen. I didn't feel the pressure in terms of the team having to hold up to the Seahawks. I think they played like that. But it's the 3-and-outs that bothered me. I want to see that improve. But they started the game hot. I wrote it down at halftime. The number 41 selection and Kenneth Walker was averaging 2 yards a carry, and the 251st selection in Isaiah Pacheco was averaging 5.7.
Yep.
Now those things equalized through the call of the second half, but that kind of gives you an opportunity to see. I thought they started hot, started with McKinnon, they substituted Pacheco. Like, I think that 1-2 punch is really here. Yep. How do you feel about the status of the running back duo?
That's good. I think that they're still working through some fumbling problems, obviously with Pacheco having 4 on the season. But collectively, I think both of them together are what is making the run game go. And unfortunately, I think that the Chiefs get in their own way at times between a successful run game where they come out and they go 3-and-out, throwing the ball 3 times in a row. They run once and another 3-and-out. They run one time in a 4 or 5 play sequence that ends up going for a punt. So it looks like they're at least trying to get them more involved. Honestly, the running game, the blocking is getting better, and you're seeing it against a bad run defense in the Seattle Seahawks. But the Chiefs make it more difficult on themselves more often than they need to. And when you're not executing very well, like that was one of the main points in the game plan, execute. They didn't do a great job of executing this game against a bad defense. Let's call it what it is. The Seahawks are a bad defense, and they didn't execute very well. And again, this game, they didn't have to. The game was never, ever close. It was never in question. They were always going to win this game, but you can't have these kind of miscues against good teams. You can't, or you're going to lose games like this. And eventually, I know it's never a problem until it is. And right in this game, it never was a problem for them. They ended up winning going away. So just the 1-2 punch they got the running backs right now, it's working well, and I'm hoping we see it carry into the postseason.
Agreed. I would say I felt like the execution was a little bit better than last week. So at least it's turning into the right direction from my point of view. I was a little bit off on my prediction. I had it 28-17. It was a little bit less. I think the cold played into that. But I'm pretty happy with a team that is not used to playing in the bitter cold, getting this one under you. When you have potential right now, even with this ball game coming down to it, right now today is still the Chiefs ending up having to go through Buffalo one way or the other. And hey, shout out to the Buffalo Bills. That's a rough thing. The Buffalo airport got closed today. They played in Chicago, and they have no way to get home via air. That's a tough one right now. Hopefully there's a private airport or something that's open. Playing on Christmas Eve, you're going to have a rushed Christmas, but at least you get to be with your family. Like that. Yeah. That's a tough one. But right now, the Chiefs are going to do something similar. And when it comes to a January playoff game, this kind of snow condition could be something the Chiefs have to deal with. So not optimal, but again, feels like it's going in the right direction. I am stacking up your questions, you guys. So if you would hit me with a super chat or hit me with a question mark at the beginning with your thumbs up. Do that all at the same time. That will certainly help. Give Aaron Morrow, our fearless leader in the chat, a thumbs up. He could use a little lift. Nobody feels great around the holidays, but when you get sick, it kind of sucks too. So we're all going down that way. So early, my notes had a lot of McKinnon, Pacheco coming in a little bit. Let's talk about the pass catching.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce was pretty quiet for a lot of the day, and I think that was more about selective passing and the pressure that Mahomes was getting rather than Travis not doing his thing. He ends up the receiving leader on the day, honestly, for the entire game at 113 with 72 yards on the last drive. I mean,
it's ridiculous, man.
He's never out of it, but what he made up for, others didn't. I was a little confused why Juju wasn't getting targeted earlier, but he came back in the second half. Didn't get Sky enough touches, in my opinion. I think it was just the one touch. Did he get a carry?
Yeah. No.
It was just the one little pass. And I still don't feel that's enough, but it made up for the drops that Justin Watson had. I'm not sure what was going on with Watson and Mahomes today. I don't think it was all on Watson. I will say that.
It wasn't.
But there was some miscommunication. I don't know what's going on. Do you?
No. They've kind of been off all season, honestly. Watson's made some plays, but Mahomes has missed him a couple times. Underthrew a touchdown last week just by like a yard. And did it again today. It's not easy just to bomb the ball down the field. So I'm going to give him a break on that one. It was nearly, on target, but he threw one out of Watson's reach, which also he stopped on the route. You can't stop on your routes. You can't. It doesn't matter what you're doing, especially with Patrick Mahomes. Like it's bad to do when in a regular offense. Run through your routes. Quarterbacks are always expecting you to run through your routes. Watson needs to stop playing so much. MVS needs to stop playing so much. This is something that I've been talking about that I can't stand. MVS is basically a non-factor. He's doing nothing. Get him off the field. Put Sky Moore in there. Justin Watson's not doing much. When McCole Hardman comes back, I'm hoping to see him and Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore get more involved because truth is, this offense will be far more explosive and far more dangerous with Juju, Travis Kelce, and those three guys on the field than MVS and Justin Watson. That's just the truth.
Yeah, I can get down with that. I think everything comes in flows. There are tides within this ball game, and there are ties on who the ball goes to, and there are ties with who's really ready on a given Sunday. And I feel like this is an ebb. This is a low point for Watson. He's had some plays, but something's not clicking right now.
Yeah.
What you got was a spark from Toney, maybe more so than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I had one observation about his running style today that I felt was not only a little atypical, but bothers me a little bit. But what was your take on Toney overall?
I mean, he didn't do a whole lot, but to me, he looks for holes far more than he needs to. He's always looking for that extra crease. Sometimes you got to take the ball and you got to go and try to get out of the way. And when you're looking for that extra crease, you're going to get hit more often than not. He's holding onto the ball a little bit on the punt return, like he's looking for something. And then he ends up getting like laid on and dropped on instead of just running out of bounds or trying to get up and get out of bounds and stop getting hit so much. And I don't particularly like the way that he's always doing that. I want to see him take it, get what you can, and then get out. But then, he does what he does on the little touch pass, and he makes a guy miss, gets inside, and gets a touchdown. Nearly fumbles it in the process too. But I do think Kadarius Toney is obviously he's not only just working with the new offense this season. It's his second year. He got injured last year. He was hurt this year. There's a lot going on with Kadarius Toney, learning curve, everything considered. He's got 2 touchdowns in Kansas City. He had 0 in New York. I think the arrow's pointing up for Toney as long as he can stay healthy. And you hope that eventually he just kind of starts to think a little bit better about there's a spot here. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to get into it. I'm going to get up and field for 5, get down. Just try not to always make that. Where's the crease? Where's the crease? Like he does that too much.
That is nearly my note as well. Cause I put in here, Toney's running with the ball like Pacheco does after the play. His feet are just too happy. He's looking to make too many cuts, make a decision and attack a little bit more than trying to find it. Oh, cold brew coffee.
No, it's the beer.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But I have not seen that's nitro with cold brew, huh? Okay. I haven't had their blonde yet. I still only drink the standard old school.
Yeah.
I'll get there eventually, but
I used this in a beef pie the other week. Just to cook down, give it some extra flavor. It was delicious. So I wanted to try it for myself by itself. It's pretty good.
I like that. I like the idea of that in particular. Let me get to a couple of questions. We have plenty more notes to go over, folks. We're going to be here live as we're seeing right now. It looks like Cincinnati's probably going to pull this off, but we're going to keep an eye on it for you.
Ramondre fumbled the ball inside the 5-yard line.
Oh, good Lord. Come on. Yeah, okay. Brendan, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Appreciate you. Allen threw 2 picks today. So did Burrow. Mahomes is running away with the MVP since Jalen is hurt. And I still have to tell you, I don't think it's just because Jalen's hurt. It's one thing to score with your legs. I think Patrick, I don't know if he's looking to do it, but the whole Jalen's in it because he runs too, because Jalen's only thrown like 2/3 of Patrick's touchdowns this year in yards. I don't know if Patrick's like making a little bit more conscious effort to, hey, if I can get there, I'm going to run it and take this out of the conversation. But it certainly seems to be in the back of his head a little bit. I'm not going to argue as long as he doesn't take hits.
Exactly. Like he did a good job. That was an insane touchdown too. It was insane being able to keep not only himself level in bounds with his left arm and then score a touchdown. It's an impressive play for anyone to make, much less a quarterback. So he's doing a good job of just, executing that.
Shout out to my sister-in-law. We were watching the game together and she was the first one to say, hey, that's in. He hit the marker. So, it's always fun when family's in town and we get to watch the game together. It's a little bit different. I don't think people are used to watching a ball game with me, but hey, it is what it is. And she survived. Brendan, thank you for the support, buddy. Folks, if you want to hit and support the channel, hit the super chat where you can grab some gear. These are the new ones. You can find it in the store. It's in the link. And I'll probably, on replay, you'll find this probably posted up here in the corner above Dan.
Over here.
So let's get into more questions. Disappointed with Andy. Didn't get Sky involved in the game, specifically when Watson was struggling to catch the ball. And Brian, we kind of felt the same way, like shifted a little bit. I'm not sure what that is because I thought, and my note on Sky in my notes was, okay, Sky made the most of his opportunity, ran hard, got that little screen out there, need to feed him. Didn't happen.
No.
Don't know why. Don't know if they're saving him or if they're still trying to keep the playbook narrow for him. That could be a part of a factor, but hopefully we still see it before the season is concluded. You make a Super Bowl run, we should see it more. It's definitely going to be next year, though. I got to say.
Yeah, this is what it is.
Ocean, appreciate you. I'm watching it over my shoulder. I'm just going to say this out loud for those of you who followed us in our draft coverage. They'd be winning this game if Bailey Zappi was in. I'm just telling you. Why do you think the offense did nothing in the third quarter and most of the fourth? What's your takeaway?
This was a game that they did not try very hard in the second half. Like they don't try in the first half of a lot of games, and they didn't try very hard in the second half. And again, they're a streaky team. Like if they get rolling and they get going, like their offense, it starts to do that. But once you have some drops, once you have some, fumbles with the snap, once you have some mis-executions, they get in their own way. Like that's what this comes down to. And that was why I talked about this in the game plan. If this team executes, they execute. They'll be so hard to beat because they're so good and because at the peak of their offense, they're the best in the NFL. They are the best. Yep. But when they sit here, they fumble, they drop balls, that they throw the ball 3 times in a row. They make things happen that don't need to happen, like I said, the fumbled snap and stuff like that. They get in their own way. And then they're just like, well, it's 17-3, whatever. We're up. The defense is having a good day. We'll just kick it. It's cold outside. Let's go home. I don't know. It felt like that. I'm sure that's not their mentality. I'm sure it's not. But at the end of the day, you win 24-10. Yeah, it is what it is.
Just roll with it. It's always looking ahead as to what you have to do with the next opponent. And quite frankly, when you've lost to the Bengals and Bills, you always have to have that in the back of your mind in a given season. So that's why. And I know somebody had just asked, why are fans never satisfied? We don't know because we're analysts first, and that's why we tell you the truth, whether it's negative or positive. So fans can be happy all day long. They should be. We're going to tell you what you got to look for on the positive side and the negative side. You guys can get the gear here. I just wanted to throw that up on the screen. Andy H., thanks for looking out for the family. You're not getting screen time today, dude. Not with that one. So anyway, I miss you, dude. Hope you're doing good. If you can't take the ball out of 15's hands, things can happen. That's generally true. But as we've seen, when he tries to do too much, when you have him throw 50 passes in the game, that doesn't necessarily lead to a win either. So long we're not, I hear where you're going, but a little bit of balance, a little bit of help. There's another question coming up, and I think we'll illustrate that in a couple of stats here that show up from today as well. Let's see. What are your thoughts as a whole on how the defense played? I thought they played really well, especially when it comes to tackling. And I thought they tackled and swarmed really well today. Thanks, Jonathan. Dan, talk to me.
Man, Willie Gay, if you go, I want you to watch the first 4 weeks of the season, or the first 4 games that Willie Gay played. How many times do you see him taking an angle, coming to a running back, and then this guy like Austin Eckler saying, okay, I'm going to run this way. And then he just flies by him. You want to know what he did today? He was like, okay, I'm running. I'm going to square you up. And guess what? He's got a huge wingspan. I think people forget how big of a wingspan he has. He can tackle guys in space if he's not uncontrolled. This is the step forward that we were like, okay, Willie has all of the athletic ability in the world. But sometimes he's just running around like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to do everything he possibly can. In this game, he wrapped up. He squared up. He was excellent. The last couple of games, I've really noticed him taking a step up in his tackling, and that has been such a huge, huge part to this defense. Because if they can wrap up and tackle, this is everything that they're looking for. They want to force teams to throw the ball in the middle of the field and swarm and tackle, just like you said in your question.
I want to say, too, that it's not just the swarm and working as a team. That is certainly key to it, is squaring up and being fundamentally strong that Willie showed. But it's also making sure that you're pushing for your advantage. There were 2, 4, 6. There were 9 TFLs today. Part of that is play call. If you don't call screens, you don't get as many. But McDuffie had a couple. Obviously, man. Willie had a couple. There were Jones with 2. Obviously, Frank had a couple as well. Kudos to Jalen Watson, because he's had a down couple of weeks. I thought he played really well today. And that's not to say that Josh Williams was terrible. Yes, he got pulled at a time because he was struggling. But he's had good games too. But Jalen walked in and said, okay, it's my turn. I got to pull this row or for this team, and he did.
I think if you watch the games where you see either Watson or Williams start the game off, then they get traded out, that's why they're rotating. Because when they come in, they play better. Watson in this game, when he came in for Joshua Williams, he played better than Williams had. And when Williams comes in for Watson earlier in the season, when he's not playing well, Williams plays better. There was a tackle that Watson made in space. I forget exactly what it was, but I think it was on one of the 3rd or 4th downs. And he just comes up, says, fine, I'm going to come in and tackle you. And he tackles, didn't make a miss. Tackling has been so important for this defense. If this team tackles on defense, they're going to be good. They're going to be very good. They got fat, they got speed, they're athletic. They can be very good if they just tackle.
and honestly, they can be good enough to get it done there. They don't have to be all world. They just have to go be solid.
Exactly.
Cover your bases and make sure you get things done. Let's see. It does look, I saw somebody say that they're having trouble getting in the store.
Yeah, it says Teespring's down, apparently.
Okay. So Teespring itself is having a problem. Maybe it's because all you guys checking out the store. So I appreciate that. We will get back to it. If you're new to us, a lot of folks joining as games come on, hit that like. We're going to give you a good show, and you always know that that's going to happen, but hit the sub as well. We're trying to grow around here. Obviously, we're a hardcore ball. We're going to tell you about the field. We're going to tell you about the film. We're going to tell you about all the player aspects of it. So I think that's something worth joining for. And like Javonte said, if you would hit that like, appreciate that. And appreciate you, Javonte, very much. Okay, so we will get to that. I'll check with Teespring while we're on here in a minute. There's going to be a ton going in there, and we have had great traffic recently, so maybe it's just a little bit temporarily overwhelmed. I don't know. We'll find out. I want to add one thing to Jonathan's as well. Yes, Willie and everything else, but it was the fact that I took it from a team standpoint when they came in the second half and they started running the ball well, and you could feel that kind of momentum surge over to the Seattle side. They stayed as a unit. They played as a
Yeah.
team on that side of the ball. And that's what held them together. And that's something that they don't necessarily do all the time. So it wasn't just assignment sound, it was playing as a team. And I think that really helped them right the ship and control everything.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that question because I want to make another one there. The MVS not catch on the sideline was frustrating. He's a pro wide receiver. Should have made that catch. Honestly, I think that was probably a balance issue, but I agree. That's a catch he should have been able to pull down. Am I being harsh, Dan?
No.
Okay.
I'll be honest, MVS makes catches harder than they need to be sometimes. And it felt like he was, I know the ball was a little out in front, a little high.
Yeah.
But you're 6'4".
Come on.
You got a wingspan. Sit there with your feet on the side, right in front of the line, like you see a million other receivers do. Catch it, bring it in. You're wide open. You don't have to brush it. Like this is, I don't know. You guys know how I feel about MVS, so I'm not going to harp too much on it.
Fair enough. I mean, it reinforces itself.
Yeah,
You have a very good point. If the Bears and the Pats had one thing to do, little help would go a long way. Thank you.
A little bit, man. But
Joe, Bolton looked like a Pro Bowler today. He did, and he didn't get turned, and that was the big thing. He was able to do what he does well.
Yeah.
Get to his drop and play downhill. They didn't run specific things to attack him. I'm a little surprised by that, to tell you the truth, because I thought all the attention on DJ. Oh, did they? Okay.
They did once where it was a 20+ yard gain over the middle of the field where you saw Nick Bolton running behind a tight end. Like that's just what it was.
Oh, right.
There was that one. That was the one play. But typically that's what teams have done. They have attacked the middle of the field in recent weeks. We've seen them kind of distribute the ball in the middle of the field, but it looks like Geno wanted to attack the outside in this game. And, on the 2-minute drive they did. They wanted to get their only playmaker, DK Metcalf, involved. But outside of some penalties, he was a non-issue for them. He converted a 3rd and 18, I think, but whatever. He didn't score a touchdown. He didn't burn them for 100+ yards, which we've seen like guys like Mike Williams do. So at the end of the day, I think that they did exactly what they needed to with DK Metcalf.
Okay. Good point. I forgot about that play. But yeah, Joe, he was instinctive. He came downhill. He had a TFL as well.
Yeah.
Like he put it out there, and I was pretty happy with them. There's a lot to cover here, and we're going to get to this. But in the end, I feel like the tandem of Willie and Nick Bolton are coming along pretty well.
Yep.
I'm feeling pretty solid about that.
Right now, looks good.
Yeah. Now, they were attacked a lot the last couple of weeks, and they gave up a lot of receptions. This week, they didn't so much, but I think that was more, again, in the play attack design from them than anyone else. Everybody give Aaron a shout out because he is holding it down for us. Appreciate him. I know there's a couple of things going on in the chat that I'm struggling to keep up with because I'm thinking like that. And shout out to our buddy Jacob, a new contributor here to the channel. You guys don't get to see him on camera very much, but he is helping us out. And he had a nice post today, some of his new gear. So that's on my Twitter feed. Go check that out as well. Let's see here. This is where I was going. Okay, so John, very good point. Should Pacheco get more carries? My answer will always be yes, no matter which running back you're talking about. But I do want to point this out. So, like I said, the two backs were like this early in the game with Pacheco well outpacing yards per carry on Kenneth Walker, who was my number one running back in this last round. So they evened out, and they ended the day at 4.1 apiece. But the difference was Pacheco got his yards on 14 carries, whereas it was 26 for Walker. That's two things. One, it's dedication from the coaching staff when they felt they had something that could work. That's not necessarily what you're going to get from Andy. Andy uses the run as a change of pace. It is not the foundation. But it's also the fact that I think they need to do that a little bit more because Pacheco is an instinctual and I think a rhythm runner. And so this is close. I would like to have seen like a minimum of like 18 is my magic number. I'd like to see a little bit more than that most time. But if you can get 18, I think that maximizes what you get from rhythm players like Pacheco. So just a little bit under, just a few more. Maybe that's less RPOs. I think there were a couple where Patrick got to choose, and maybe that's part of it as well.
Well, also 3 or 4 3-and-outs. Pacheco probably gets closer to 20 touches in this game if they don't go 3-and-out. That's it. Like that's what it is. It comes down to a little bit more execution in every game that they have. And I think Pacheco sees the floor of what we want him to get every single week. So in hindsight, 14 carries probably isn't enough, But when you go 3 and out 3 or 4 times in a game against a defense you shouldn't, it limits the touches that everyone should have been seeing in this game. And honestly, Mahomes should have thrown for far more than he did in this game. But again, when you have as many miscues as they did, you don't get to see the top end of the offense. And I think Pacheco probably goes over 100 yards in this game. If they execute, he probably scores a touchdown too. So,
yeah. Thank you, Miss Julia. Merry Christmas to all of you. Happy holidays. If you celebrate something else, I hope that you're enjoying it. If you're in the middle of that 8-day stretch or 10-day stretch that is Hanukkah, welcome. I hope that you guys are having a good time. A lot of comments about Watson. We kind of addressed that already, but we do feel that there's something going on there. We'll see if they can get that turned around. I do expect that they will eventually. Let's see. This is a great question. I got asked that 2 or 3 times a day, and I don't have a good answer, especially when you consider, at least for the Pro Bowl, a significant chunk of it is fan voting. I'm not sure how this happened, but it happened. It makes things negotiating-wise harder on Brett Veach now, though, and I don't like it.
Unfortunately, it does. But if you look at the fact that Tyler Huntley is the 4th alternate for the Pro Bowl, it tells you everything you need to know about the Pro Bowl voting. It's broken, needs to be fixed. And I'm not, like I said, I don't know any fans that like Orlando Brown Jr., but I also know that fans don't care about like. They want to see their players in the Pro Bowl, so they vote at whoever they possibly can. And at tackle, he got in, I think, last year too. Like, he gets in a lot because there's a lot of people that vote for him. There's also a lot of fans from Oklahoma, from Baltimore, that like him too, that just like the player that he is. So he got, I would imagine, a lot of votes from people not just in Kansas City too. So the voting is just broken and it needs to be fixed in different ways. You also have to remember that Mitch Schwartz never made a Pro Bowl in his time, and he's an all pro Hall of Fame right tackle. So tells you something.
And this is not to dissuade fans. Go vote. It's fun
vote.
And it helps.
Do it.
This is why people in the league, especially leadership in the league, makes a big delineation between all pros and Pro Bowls, because the all pros are a much different voting scenario by a much different criteria. And I think that changes the aspect of it. So let's see who gets those all pros. I think there's going to be several guys on this same roster that are going to get there. So let's see them. Miss Holly, thank you for the support and for helping out your guy. Disappointed in Tommy for shanking a couple of punts, but at least no one can fault his holding today. I agree with you on both counts. I think the pressure might have got to him a little bit in kicking. Maybe a cold ball was a factor there too.
I think the cold ball had a much bigger impact because he didn't right off the foot. You could tell he was like, that's not good. And you guys, if you listened to the New Heights podcast with Travis and his brother Jason, they talked specifically about how the cold like this that has been in Kansas City over the last 3 days, how it impacts the ball, how it makes them so hard. When you're kicking a ball that's just normal football, it's like, okay, that's fine.
It's got a little give to it.
When you're kicking a football that's rock solid, yeah, that's not going to feel very good. So your foot's going to be like, I don't want to do that. It's so something's different. I want to know how many fans while we're watching holds today, more than any fan has ever watched a hold in their life, ever. And you want to know what I noticed? I think it did. I think this whole fiasco that happened this week was for the better, because I watched every single hold, and I watched every single extra point. You want to know what? Those guys were right down the middle every single time. So I don't care what happened. I'm glad it did, because that was whatever it was, mental. Everyone was thinking about it. Tommy was thinking about it. Butker was thinking about it. Tobe was thinking about it. So yes, Holly, you are 100% on the money with that.
Yeah. And I'm glad to see that. I know people were upset with Dustin Colquitt last week. Kudos to Colquitt because he got through to him. It affected the outcome of this game.
He said what needed to be said.
Yeah.
And the reason that I believe Dustin Colquitt was because Harrison Butker did not outwardly defend Tommy. Not once. All week. Not once. And no offense, Holly, I know he's your guy. And he's been great this season as a punter. He's been great. But he needed whatever kick in the butt he got this week to get those holds down. And maybe now Harrison Butker will have more confidence in the holder that will allow him to kick those 50-yard field goals when they matter.
Agreed. And you know what? Sometimes you got to go through a little pain to get everything right. And if that did it, then hey, we're cooking with gas again. Kenneth, appreciate you. Love McKinnon, but please, Chief, stop trying to run him up the middle. They love Pacheco and Jones. I agree with you. In fact, in one of my notes was, this is really weird. It could backfire, but they're trying to break the tendencies right now. They're putting on film that they can both switch roles, and now defenses are going to have to consider them as both full-time backs, and that will keep them from ganging up on certain play calls when one of the guys is in.
And also, there's been multiple weeks that he's taken one up the middle for like 10, 15 yards.
True.
So I understand not wanting him to do it, but I think when this offense gets in a groove and they're throwing the football a lot, those plays, they work. And McKinnon takes them for 10, 11 yards. But this game was different because they weren't executing at the height that they have been. So those didn't look the same.
Agreed.
Excuse me.
Gary, OG around here. Nice to see you, buddy.
Nice.
Karlaftis will have a much better year next year than this year. I agree. He's learning, and he's shown, again, progression within his rookie season. The batted ball things, I have to go back and look because I do not remember him being an outstanding contributor in batting passes in college. I have all of his stats. I'm going to have to go dig back through them. But that's been a nice turnaround. Obviously, what we've talked about is that at least they recognize their own strengths and weaknesses. And if they're not going to get home, they have made a concerted effort to bat down passes lately. Mm-hmm. Good for George. I also think George's hand fighting is getting better. This is one of the areas that we identified that we think he can improve in through his career, not just as a rookie, through his career, because the bend isn't necessarily something you just get one day.
Yeah.
But he's still playing with good pad level dynamics. He can get under some blocks, and that helps. And if you combine that with being able to just lift a punch hand or be able to put moves together, he will continue to improve. And I agree with you, Gary. There's a good future there. Longmorn, Reed had another really good game making tackles. Yeah, Reed was solid again. Happy to see that. Really happy to see that. Your takeaway on Reed overall? You look like you got something.
The last month, Justin Reed been quiet. You haven't seen him on Twitter. He's played basketball in Kansas City. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say.
Hey, and it helps the defense overall. I got a couple of stats you guys should know. Third down, Seahawks were 2 for 14. That's the Chiefs' best effort this season. 14% third down conversion allowed. They went for it 6 times on fourth and only got half of them. And generally the fourths are like 4 yards or shorter. So like they are difficult when teams are just sell out, got to go 4 downs every possession. So kudos to the defense for standing up there. And Jacob, if you're ready, this is one of the clips that you should pull because this was a big deal that I'll probably follow up with later in the week, depending on time. And it's the holiday and all that. This was a departure from what Steve Spagnuolo does. And I really, really liked it. I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. L'Jarius Sneed followed DK Metcalf all over the field.
I loved it.
And yes, DK got his yards. It's difficult to stop him from getting his yards. But he didn't murder this team. There are lesser teams that have had a wide receiver go off again because they got a matchup they wanted. This was, we're putting our best cover guy on your best receiver, period, end of story, and we'll go to war that way. It worked. And I hope that they don't forget that. I hope it isn't a one-game thing.
I don't think it's going to be. And also, I think that hands to the face penalty was a load of bull. I don't think he actually got him in the face.
I think he did, but I don't think he meant to. I thought, I literally, the play before said, they got him in man and they're not letting him punch. And then he does that. I'm like,
regardless, I mean, I'm looking at it like he doesn't even it's not even like hugely obvious that he got him in the face. He turns his head to the side, which happens all the time. And they just threw a flag like they were that entire drive. They were just like, flag. Yeah, we're just going to throw flags. It happens a lot. But either way, I really liked that counter because when you have that in your bag to go to, Mike Williams can't burn you on rookie corners all game. That's what you need to see. And I love that he came out earlier this year and said, I went to him and said, I want this. I need to be against Mike Williams in this game. And now we've seen it carry over to big matchups against the top flight big receivers. DK, Mike Williams, the guys that you're going to show up probably against in the playoffs, you're going to see L'Jarius Sneed in those crucial moments. And they're not going to burn you deep for touchdowns. They're not.
That's got to be it. And I'll say this too. Kudos to Juan Thornhill for being in a good place on that deep ball that was an overthrow. I don't know if the receiver cut off the route or just let it go too much.
Mhm.
But I will say this, on that hands to the face, Juan also made a pick there, and it got called back by that penalty. So he actually had 2 on the day, just one didn't stand. So I like to see that with Reed upping his tackling and being quieter, and Juan actually making plays on the ball. This is what we've been talking about. Now, yes, it was against a lesser opponent, but this is the foundation of what you can now use as a springboard for the next week and the next week and into the playoffs. This is the stuff they have to have.
Oh, yeah. Loving it. Loving it.
Longmorn, thank you for saying this, and thank you for the help.
Appreciate you, Longmorn.
I think Reed put a sour pill in everybody's mug when he did all the talking and all that stuff. I think he's starting to work his way out of it. And I think a workman-like attitude for him is a good thing. I think he has felt a lot of pressure to be a leader, and if he can just pull off his part of the defense, I think they're going to be much better for it. For a lot of you folks joining us from other games, welcome. Chiefs get it done. We're looking forward to what this game means for the future.
Yes.
We're also looking forward to our future. We got some new gear we'd like you to check out. The RGR. We got the Rogue Nation over there. You can check those all out at our store over here. It seems to be down a little bit right now, but it should be back up pretty soon. So if you're watching this on replay, go jump over at the store. There's a link in the description and check out our stuff. We appreciate the support and when you guys do that. Couple of questions here. I'm going to wrap them together because Julia felt that Leo played an improved game. Ocean felt like he played good today. I completely agree. What did you take away from Leo? I know he started in the base. They started with the base defense, so he's a starter this week. But I didn't see anything, including when he was asked to drop, which I saw at least once. I didn't see anything that made me go, okay, he hasn't come along. He's not there yet. He's competent at this point to me.
Yeah, go back to the Bills game. If you just watch that game, every time Leo Chanel was on the field, they threw the ball. Every time he came off, they ran the ball. I think you're going to see a marked difference in that player to now. I think last week was his best game overall. But he's confident now. He's like, okay, I finally understand what I'm supposed to be doing on the field. And I think that's such a huge thing because you can't trot out a base defense against good offenses because they'll just throw the ball. They'll just throw the ball. And when you can just not be a liability and come down and knife in between tight ends and offensive tackles to get a tackle for loss, like that's what you need to do. It gets your confidence up. It allows them to play more base defense in situations where you're going to see 12 personnel, 21 personnel at times. It allows you them to do that and say, we can't put this guy on the field because he's not making the plays. But Leo Chanel has been, over the last 2 weeks, markedly improved from the guy we saw against Buffalo Bills earlier this season. And
that's just strengthening one of the weaker chains in being a rookie in the chain. And that allows you to be better when it comes to the postseason. Holly's pretty happy with the trading up to get McDuffie was a trait.
Oh,
It was a great move.
So great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still, when I go back, I had him projected in the teens multiple times. I'm just tickled that he fell to 21 and they were able to get it done because you guys know that I watch a lot of UW football because I went to high school there and that kind of thing. So I follow that team. And even without Jimmy Lake being in charge of that, let's see what happens. But certainly with Jimmy Lake, they've put out a lot of good DBs, period. Trent's going to be maybe the end of that line. We'll see what happens. But it's a good bet if you're grabbing a UW.
Oh, yeah.
Zach, thank you. Did DK get pulled? I didn't see that. I didn't see a whole lot in the second half.
No, he played.
Yeah, I saw him in the last couple of drives in particular. And he was getting good pressure. He had that bat. But yeah, I felt pretty good about him. What's up with Watson in this 3K? Yeah, we talked about this a couple of times, Terry. There's just a little bit miscommunication. One of those balls was badly underthrown too. Patrick didn't get enough on it. That's been a theme of late. Accuracy was a little bit of an issue today. I think that's part of the cold. The other thing that you don't get about a grass field, even though it's heated underneath in Arrowhead, it does have like a crust. And so you're wearing those cleats and you're not actually planting as well as the quarterback, especially when he's rolling left and he's trying to turn his hips. Like that plant foot doesn't grab as much because it doesn't sink into the turf. I think that might have been a part of it. I'm not trying to make excuses for him. He certainly did miss a few passes. But that just seems to be a thing that's ongoing. I think they'll get back by playoffs. Jonathan, with the struggles on the offense he has had and Dallas seeming to lose interest in OBJ, do you try to steal him and store him away for the playoffs or possibly next year? I will say it this way. If he is truly healthy and he can help you right now in this playoff run, I say give it a shot. It should be low cost. We don't have to worry about that cap-wise now because there's so few game checks to hand out. I will not spend the money on him now if I'm hoping for him to play next season. That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me until you clear some cap space. You see what else you have in free agency, et cetera, et cetera. Dan, would you disagree?
No, I also don't think he's going to sign anywhere. I think that as soon as it got leaked out that he's not healthy, not ready to play, teams are like, we're not going to do anything. So I think it's been kind of already said by his side as well that they're going to probably wait until the offseason, and then he's just going to do the same thing that he did during the season, make his rounds during the offseason once again.
I think that's it. Although I will say I would not put it against beyond Jerry Jones to make a comment in hoping that that's exactly the way. So
yeah,
we'll see. Eric, thank you. We appreciate you. Happy holidays to you too, buddy. And yes, I know, folks, there's a bunch of questions stacked up. We're going to get to them all. I got 20 here. We're getting through them. Don't worry. Tyler was asking saying Chris Jones is playing like a defensive player of the year. Surprised he doesn't get more hype nationally. He gets respect, I feel, but you're absolutely right. He doesn't get hype. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just the D tackle thing, but Aaron Donald has earned the respect. I don't know if do you feel Donald gets hype too? Like, to compare the two?
I mean, he didn't this year, but that's just because he's been hurt and now he's done for the season. They also have been a bad team. It doesn't make any sense because the Chiefs are good and he's the best defensive player that they have. That's what doesn't make any sense. The reason that Aaron Donald has been getting talked about is the Rams have been good. They've been good, and he's also got Defensive Player of the Year awards. But the fact that Chris Jones doesn't get that national hype is a little mind-boggling to me. But also, he's got last 2 games now where he doesn't have. Does he have a sack? Did he have a sack today? I don't remember. I know he had a TFL. I don't think he had a sack today, but.
He had a pair of TFLs.
He was in the backfield.
Yes, he did have a sack for 6 yards.
All right, there you go. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe it's the fact that he's in Kansas City and the small market doesn't play to guys that aren't Mahomes, but I don't know. It doesn't make, like I said, much sense to me. And Ryan's camera is focusing on the background. There it goes. I was
so excited. I'm reading something, and kudos to our buddy Nick Jacobs. I haven't corroborated this, but if Nick puts it out, I'm sure it's true. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now the 4th seed.
Mm-hmm.
They have leapfrogged, and good for them.
I told you.
Good for the Chiefs.
I told you.
I'm glad for Doug, and Trevor Lawrence. I was not a big fan of his personality coming out, but his talent is recognizable. Good for him for surviving Urban Meyer at this point. And I like the matchup the Chiefs have there, so we're good.
Oh yeah,
Tracy. This I meant to put this up before when I was talking about Thornhill, but you're absolutely right. It is nice to see that without the penalty, and getting the second one really made me happy as well. Frisky Texans might get another W. Did they?
They did. That's why the Titans lost.
Oh, the Titans. Okay, got it. Good for them.
Titans lost, man.
Yeah, we're a little behind, folks, as you can see. Terry was happy with the way Watson played. I assume that's Jalen.
Yeah.
So we're with you there, Terry.
Yeah.
Great point. Stuart, appreciate it. Merry Christmas to all you hooligans.
Yes.
From Chiefs Kingdom. Happy 12-3 from across the pond. Cheers. Appreciate you, buddy. Let's see. PK, how are you, man? Thanks for the support. Merry Christmas. How about the defense today? Can we keep playing like this into the playoffs? And what sparked the change? What do you think was the spark?
A bad team. The Seattle Seahawks, ever since they had their winning streak, they lost 4 out of 5 games, now 5 out of 6 games. They're doing this. They're nosediving. Tyler Lockett didn't play. While the effort was excellent, getting in the backfield for the TFLs that they had is awesome. The offensive line for Seattle is not very good. I talked about that in the game plan. The interior is not very good. They got 2 rookie tackles. So while they came to play, the defense came to play in this game. Cold weather, something about cold weather brings it out of the defense. Like, they just want to get downhill and hit people in cold weather, because if you can be physical when it's cold outside, you don't want to get hit more. I do remember playing defense in cold weather. Something about it. There was something about it that you're just like, I want to go hit this guy. Like, it's different in the cold weather, I think. And that, by the way, Frank Clark, he might have had the best 2-week stretch, the last 2 weeks that I've seen out of him in Kansas City.
At least since the Super Bowl.
I don't count the playoff run, but yes, in the regular season, the playoff run was Frank Clark special. He looks really good. This is not what I expected right now from Frank Clark, but he's doing a really nice job of understanding what his role is in this defense. Mm-hmm. It's not to be the sack getter. It's what he was signed for, but that's not his role anymore. His role is be a run stopper, collapse that pocket, let everybody else profit off what you can do. I think he's been very good over the last 2 weeks, really since he came back. So I'm pretty happy with it, and that's weird. I don't recall that being on the season checklist for me this season.
Right? Yeah, it was not part of the plan.
No,
I'm actually going to pull up Walker's drive chart because there were two things that, and I did not attribute this to Clark, but there were 2 times where they let the edge go and he got out to the outside that cost them. So maybe just there was a fill. I think one of them was on one of the DBs that should have been filling for him as he crashed inside. But I agree. He's playing his role well, and that's helping the defense overall. Tom, Merry Christmas to you. Hope you're doing well. Knicks fan, appreciate the support. Tony did a nice job on the TD. He certainly did. And I think in general, he's putting out good effort. I don't think any of his issues are an effort problem. Mm-hmm. I know Giants fans feel that way. I don't see that in Kansas City. Do you?
No, I don't think so. It's a little bit different in Kansas City. He's not the focal point of the offense.
True.
He was in New York. Like, he was the guy, we're going to get the ball in your hands and you're going to make something happen because our offense is bad. This year, their offense has been better, but Kansas City's offense is much different. It doesn't run through him, so there's not much pressure on him to be the guy every single week. So I think he'll be just fine in Kansas City. Again, another building block for next year, a young wide receiver. I mean, this offense is good this year. Just imagine if they get their better players of football next year, because Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney are better football players than MVS and Justin Watson. This is a fact.
Yeah, that is a fact. That's for sure. Oof. Let's see. Knicks fan, thank you. The defense did do well today. I'm very happy with them.
Appreciate you, Knicks fan.
Moving along, and thanks for the support, buddy, as always. Hey there, you two. I think the defense performed well today, and they held the Seahawks out of the end zone until the late fourth quarter. Yeah, you got to be happy with that. And again, the third down efficiency and the fourth down efficiency, I felt like the defense did its job and played well against this team. Mm-hmm. I will say this, too, that I do feel that they have taken criticism from elsewhere and rolled that into their game too. It's not just that it was a bad team, it's that they were able to capitalize on a bad team, and that takes perseverance too.
Yeah.
Metal, I think Pacheco was amazing, especially after the pass that Mahomes hit went for 32. Love how furious George is growing. Yep, we are totally with you, Metal. Sorry, I'm far behind on your comments. I'm like 20 minutes behind. Dang, sorry guys. DC Jayhawk, did George actually show some bend? Maybe just a touch.
See, this is the difference. This is what I pointed out in his draft evaluation. He doesn't bend, but he does have the ability to corner. Cornering, and that's the thing, is you can stop and turn your body. It's not bending, but it's stopping and turning. That's one thing that I don't care about the bend. I don't care. You are what you are. That's fine. But when you can corner, when you win up the arc clear, you have to be able to corner, because if you don't, you're going to get run outside. But he stopped, he ran it inside, and that's the difference between bending and cornering. He can corner. That was what he did. He cornered it perfectly. He stopped. He was able to get back and accelerate up through to Geno Smith, and that was the big difference. I know it looked like bend, and it can get confused for bend at times, but this is the difference, and why I thought, he does have something. He can corner, and that's what you saw. And that was the step forward that I think he's taken, understanding when to put that foot in the dirt and then get, instead of upfield, into the middle of that pocket.
Yeah. And for those of you that are big Tyree Wilson fans, Avery, when you see this, I know you'll be happy. I did find some games where he bent a little bit. He does have it. It's just not around the edge. It's usually when he's going off of power and coming back inside on a counter. But there is something there, and considering he's going to be the Chiefs' next defensive end because he's a Spagnuolo type guy, let's just be prepared, okay?
I don't think the Chiefs will have a shot to take him. I don't.
Maybe not. I think there's a little bit of hype coming out of front offices around the league right now. I could be wrong. Thomas, thank you for your support, buddy. Merry Christmas to you. I've lost confidence in Watson. Don't understand why Sky isn't getting more plays. Don't go too far on Watson. It's a game or two. I wouldn't get too far down. I wouldn't get too far down on Sky either. I think he will come around. I really do feel like he's got something to give, and I think he's trying to make a point to Andy that I'm ready. I think that will come around postseason. I do think he'll be more involved.
Thank you, Thomas. Merry Christmas.
Absolutely. Metal, I love that you mentioned Steve sticking to Metcalf. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I said, you're never going to stop DK from getting everything. And there was back-to-back plays. And if I can get to the film this week, I'm going to go over that rough drive. And that was specific because he got by him due to a lack of press, and he ran that go and got that play. Then he comes back and got out of bounds. And then there's the hands to the face penalty.
Yeah.
Rough drive. Outside of that, did DK Metcalf hurt this team that bad? No. And I think that's exactly what it is. You limited their top player, and he didn't crush you, and that's what you need to do. Hopefully they can replicate that against better players and better teams.
You're right.
Knicks fan, thank you. Pat underthrew Watson, and it would have been a TD. Yep, we said the same thing. Absolutely. Okay, I must have popped that one in there twice. Sorry, guys. Best Chiefs show ever. Happy holidays, Kingdom. Thank you, Eric. We appreciate you. We try to do the best that we can for you. Based on the team right now, where do you think the first draft pick goes next year? Positionally, I'm guessing.
I'm still going to say it's going to be defensive end. It's going to be interesting how the tackle situation plays out in the draft. As I keep doing more research, I don't know if the top talent is there, like the high end. I do think there are some middling guys that might get pushed down the board due to other positions, but I still think it's going to be defensive end because even though Frank Clark again has played better than he probably everyone expected him to, don't expect him to be on the team next year. Dunlap might not be there next year. We're talking about a position that they need to fill.
Yeah, I agree. I will say this: if it's not defensive end, it has to be offensive tackle. I think it is going to be about how the board falls, and maybe they get an opportunity to do what they did for Trent and move up within a given gap.
Yeah.
10 spots is about the outset for me of what you can get away with in terms of value. And so maybe they can get up, and maybe that becomes a tackle over an edge because of that.
Maybe, yeah.
Right now, and I'm just starting the offensive tackle stuff. I haven't gotten deep into it. I've looked at a lot of edges on a first go through, and there's more edges than there are tackles in this class for me.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see if that stands up to time. I find a lot of guys late too, and we're just getting started.
That happens.
But thank you, Boogie. Appreciate that. In the Discord is where you guys get all the extra stuff, and you can talk to each other. You can get into all the details. You can also get there, not just in the open members room, non-members room that is the front lobby, but FLDB has set it up so that all you members here on the channel, once you subscribe, you can tie your YouTube account and get into the member section there, which is way bigger and way more active. So check that out. All you got to do is sign up as a rookie level here on the channel. The channel memberships are over there on a button underneath, Dan, and you can get into it. And you can go here when it opens back up for the Rogue store, because I'm reloading now and it still is not up. So Teespring's still having an issue, but we'll get there. This will be available on replay. And I forgot to say before, you guys, I still have that code open. So 7AFCW is still getting you a discount.
Nice.
So make sure you check that out. Without the penalty, 22 would have had 2 picks. Good point, Wink. I completely agree, and that's nice to see. My wife's uncle used to play for the Seahawks. Cool. And he's one of the position coaches there now, and I'm over here rubbing their faces in it.
Nice.
All right. Perfection. I like it. And by the way, I went to school out there, and I am familiar with the fan base pretty well, so I'm glad to see them. Chiefs Kingdom, Merry Christmas. We'll take that win. It's a good attitude, Casey. We like it. Jeremy, thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you, and we appreciate your support as always. Ocean, why no jet sweeps? Is that not what Tony scored on? I thought that was a called jet sweep.
It was a jet sweep motion, but it was a tap pass. So it was a tap
was that what
pass.
It was? Oh.
Yeah.
I did. See, this is what happens when I make my notes too quickly. It's like, oh, look. And then I miss something.
And that's the thing, though. I think Andy even said after the game that they're trying to limit what he does, because he does have some hamstring problems. But you're seeing at least him in the punting game. You're seeing him run those jet sweeps and those orbit motions to get his hamstring warmed up. And right now, you're not seeing any issues. So I think as that happens, you're going to see more that elevate into the postseason, which is when you're going to see him probably be more of a factor that he was when he first came over. At least that's my opinion.
Makes sense. You guys, looks like the pressers are wrapping, so I'm going to do the Locked On Chiefs show here in a minute. Going to wrap up some of your questions. Thank you for all of them. Make sure you get liked and subbed right now. That helps us and it helps you. Let's see. Joe had, what about the Hardman extension? I think Hardman will spark the offense. I don't think he gets extended. I think somebody will pay him more than the Chiefs are willing to pay him.
We'll see. I'm not the wide receiver market has been so weird, but because it's been so hot and miss, if he doesn't like do what he did to end the season, like he started the season, his market might cool on him, especially with the injury. We'll see. Obviously, there's no way of knowing. I agree with Ryan for the most part. I do think there's a chance he's back, but that's assuming money does not just take him elsewhere, because that's something with speed. They say it all the time, speed kills, and he's got it in spades. So we'll see.
And his ability to contribute to the offense is not really in question. He can do things for you. It's just about how much that costs. Wink, good point. That rough drive did only cost them 3 points. Against a better team, it's going to be tougher. But that one drive aside, they got a lot done elsewise. And hey, it's the NFL. You're going to give up points to every team. It's just about how you control that. Aaron, thank you for the support, buddy. Appreciate you. That MVP, MVP Pat, rushing TD is pure magic. Keep it up. Thank you. And Merry Christmas to you as well. And Travis stole an old slogan I had for MV Pat. So I guess I'm going to have to take that off the ledger. Not only is he now instantly Travis Kelce's a better podcaster than me, but now he's stealing my monikers here.
Man, their podcast Travis. Is awesome. It's not fair.
It really is. I mean, that's something only two brothers could pull off.
Exactly. Honestly. And they do it so flawlessly.
Okay, last question, and then we're going to get out of here. I'm going to do the Locked On Chiefs show. You guys can jump on with us live there in about 15 minutes. Just got in. What was the best defensive game to date? And was the offense kind of going cold more on the offense game plan, or did their D just step up that much?
I wouldn't say the defense made many plays in this game. Everything that I saw was more of an execution problem, whether it was a drop, whether it was a receiver not running through his route, or Mahomes maybe throwing the ball at someone's feet when he had room in front of him to run. There was some weird decisions, some execution problems. I'll put it again on the Chiefs not executing properly, which is something that they just do. It's just every week.
I would agree, and particularly on the offensive side, when you have that many 3 and outs, it was 73 plays by the Seahawks offense to only 51 for the Chiefs.
Yeah,
and that's because you didn't move the sticks, you didn't reset the downs enough. And so I think that has a limitation as well. But again, I think most of that was self-inflicted rather than the opposite. So that is going to do it for us. If you guys would hit the thumbs up, we'd appreciate it. And give a clap to Aaron Morrow for being here when he's not feeling the greatest. Appreciate you, buddy. You guys are the best audience here on YouTube, and we appreciate you very much. We're going to get ready and go here in about 12 minutes over on Locked On Chiefs. So check that out. Dan, have a great night. Thanks for being here.
No problem, everybody. Hope you have a fantastic holiday. I'm looking forward to having some prime rib tomorrow. I'm going to smoke it. We're going to get up early. We're going to clean it out and smoke it, get ready. It's going to be cold. It's going to be worth it, though. Enjoy your guys' week.
It will. Have a great Christmas tonight. And for those of you celebrating other things, cheers to you as well. I'm just doing a bird, so it's going to be standard, but that's okay. You guys have a great night. And we'll catch you on Monday night. Nothing Sunday. We're going to take Sunday off. Be with your family. We'll be with ours. We'll see you Monday night. Have a good one.